Black pepper looks ordinary because it is everywhere, but for centuries these dark little berries helped move ships, build fortunes and change dinner tables across continents. Real pepper comes from Piper nigrum, a climbing vine native to India's Malabar coast. The green berries are picked, dried and wrinkled into sharp, earthy peppercorns with a warm bite from piperine. Most people don't know this, but black, white and green pepper can come from the same plant. The difference is timing and processing, not magic. One berry becomes several flavours. That sounds simple until you meet the spice most people call cinnamon. Cinnamon feels sweet, soft and familiar, but the label can hide a twist. Much of the cinnamon sold in everyday supermarkets is actually cassia, a related bark with a stronger, hotter flavour. True Ceylon cinnamon, traditionally linked with Sri Lanka, is thinner, more delicate and often rolled into fragile layered quills. Cassia is thicker, darker and punchier, with a spicy warmth that holds up in baking. Both come from tree bark, stripped, dried and curled as it loses moisture. The strange part is that one spice can be both cosy and politically valuable. But the next one is not bark. It is a golden root. Turmeric is the spice that turns food into sunlight. It comes from a rhizome, a knobby underground stem related to ginger, and it has been deeply associated with South Asian cooking for generations. The roots are usually boiled, dried, and ground into a bright yellow powder with an earthy, bitter, slightly peppery taste. Most people know turmeric for colour, but chefs use it for something quieter, depth. It stains rice, curries, soups, and pickles with a warm golden glow. Its wellness reputation is famous, but the real culinary magic is flavour and colour. And if turmeric is warm and earthy, the next spice is dry, nutty, and ancient. Cumin smells like a hot pan before anything touches it. The spice is the dried seed of Cuminum ciminum, a small plant in the parsley family, and it shows up across Middle Eastern, Indian, North African, and Latin American cooking. Toast it, and the flavour turns nutty, smoky, and deep. Grind it, and it becomes the backbone of chili, curries, stews, and spice blends. But here's the twist. Cumin can taste heavy if it is raw, and almost buttery when it blooms in oil. That tiny change separates flat food from food that feels alive. The next spice is smaller, greener, and more expensive than people expect.
Cardamom looks like a tiny green pod, but inside are seeds with a flavour bigger than the shell. Green cardamom is prized in Indian sweets, Arabic coffee, Scandinavian baking, and chef-driven desserts because it can taste floral, citrusy, minty, and warm at the same time. The pods are harvested before they fully ripen, then dried to protect the aromatic seeds inside. Most people don't know this. Grinding cardamom too early makes it fade fast. That is why cooks often crack the pod only when they need it. It is delicate, expensive, and powerful. But for pure visual drama, the next spice wins before it even touches food.
Paprika is what happens when peppers become colour. It is made by drying and grinding red capsicum peppers into powder that can taste sweet, fruity, smoky, or hot, depending on the pepper and the process. In Hungary, paprika became a national flavour. In Spain, smoked versions can taste like roasted wood, red fruit, and warm embers. The bright red colour comes from pigments in the peppers, which is why even a small spoonful can transform a pale dish into something rich and dramatic. But paprika still smells inviting. The next spice is famous because at first it smells almost wrong.
Asafoetida is one of the strangest spices in the kitchen. It comes from the dried resin of ferula plants, and before cooking, its smell can be sharp, sulphurous, and almost shocking. Some people compare it to garlic, onions, or something far funkier. But here's the twist. Once it hits hot oil, the harsh edge softens into a savoury, rounded flavour. In many Indian vegetarian dishes, especially where onion or garlic may be avoided,
Asafoetida creates deep umami warmth from almost nothing. It is powerful, so cooks use tiny pinches. And the next spice is the opposite, delicate, floral, and famously expensive. Saffron is expensive because it is almost absurdly difficult to collect. The spice comes from the red stigmas of Crocus sativus flowers, and each flower gives only a few threads. Those threads are harvested by hand, dried carefully and used in tiny amounts to color rice, stews, sweets, and sauces a glowing gold. The flavor is floral, earthy, honeyed, and slightly bitter. Most people think saffron is expensive because it tastes luxurious. The real reason is labor, low yield, and careful handling. One pinch can change an entire pot. But saffron is rare because of work. The next spice was rare because of geography.
Cloves are dried flower buds, which already makes them unusual. They come from Syzygium aromaticum, a tropical evergreen tree associated with the Moluccas Islands, once known as the Spice Islands. The buds are picked before they open, then dried until they turn reddish-brown and intensely fragrant. Cloves taste sweet, sharp, warm, and almost numbing because of aromatic compounds like eugenol. A single clove can perfume a pot of rice, a ham, a tea, or a dessert. But that strength made cloves more than seasoning. For traders, they were portable value. And before Europe became obsessed with black pepper, another pepper had already ruled ancient tables.
Long pepper looks like a tiny dark pine cone, not a peppercorn. It comes from Piper longum and was highly valued in ancient medieval cooking before black pepper became the global default. Its flavour is warm, sweet, earthy, and slower than black pepper, with a lingering heat that feels almost smoky. The strange part is that long pepper did not disappear because it tasted worse. It faded as trade routes, prices, and habits changed. Today, it survives in some Indian, Southeast Asian, and specialty spice traditions. It is the kind of forgotten flavour that makes history taste unfinished. But the next spice is protected by law. Pimentón de la Vera is not just paprika. It is a protected Spanish smoked paprika from La Vera, made under specific rules from selected red pepper varieties. The peppers are dried with smoke, traditionally over oak, before they are ground into a silky red powder. That smoke gives it a deep, warm, wood-fired flavour that can make beans, potatoes, eggs, or chorizo taste slow-cooked, even when they're not. Legal protection matters because the name is tied to place, process, and identity. Most people see paprika as a colour. This one is a region in powder form. Next, heat becomes science. Chili powder and hot pepper flakes are built around one chemical sensation, capsaicin. Chili peppers come from the Americas, and after global trade spread them, they changed cuisines from India to Korea to West Africa. Capsaicin does not taste hot like soup is hot. It activates pain receptors, creating the burning feeling that people learn to love, fear, or chase. The Scoville scale was created to measure that heat, even though modern testing can be more precise. A dried chili can taste fruity, smoky, grassy, or sharp before it ever tastes painful. But the next spice is extreme for a different reason. It begins as an orchid. Vanilla is a spice, even though most people think of it as sweet background flavour. It comes from the cured pods of vanilla orchids, originally from the tropical Americas, and now famously grown in places like Madagascar. Fresh vanilla pods do not smell like vanilla yet. The aroma develops through curing, sweating, drying, and aging, a slow process that can take months. In many growing regions, flowers may be hand-pollinated because the natural pollination system does not travel with the crop. The result is creamy, floral, woody, and deeply comforting. But vanilla's softness hides its labour. The next spice hides two flavours inside one fruit. Nutmeg and mace come from the same tree, Myristica fragrans, native to the Spice Islands of Indonesia. Nutmeg is the seed, mace is the lacy red covering wrapped around it. That means one fruit gives two spices, with related but different personalities. Nutmeg is warm, sweet, woody, and slightly bitter. Mace is more delicate, floral, and bright. Most people meet nutmeg in holiday desserts, but historically it was tangled with colonial competition, secrecy, and violent control of trade. The misunderstood part is that nutmeg is not just dessert dust, it is a whole story in a seed. And finally, spices become something larger than themselves.
A spice blend is where geography becomes a recipe. Garam masala, Ras El Hanout, berbere, Baharat, five spice, curry powder, and countless house blends all prove the same thing. Spices are not just ingredients. They are memory, trade, climate, migration, and taste crushed into powder. A blend can be smoky, floral, fiery, sweet, bitter, or warm depending on who made it. The most important spice might not be one spice at all. It might be the combination that makes a dish taste like home. So the next time you open a spice jar, remember you are opening history. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, you'll probably like every sauce explained.